I think most of us, if not all of us, have an identity crisis. It's very hard to... you can identify yourself as Chindian, but what is the actual definition of Chindian? What is the culture of a Chindian person? It all depends on which side of the family is stronger. Which culture you identify yourself more with. So it doesn't matter how old you get. There's always the feeling of, so what am I? I'm Chindian. Fine, I'm Chindian, but what does Chindian mean?
My father is Indian, my mom is Chinese. And I identify myself more as on the Indian side.
Well, we always spoke English at home. Even though from a young age I noticed that my parents had different skin colors, but it really didn't bother me. I thought, maybe my mom's more tan for a reason. When I was asked what race are you when I was a kid, I used to say English. Because I didn't know the difference between the Chinese and the Indian. At a young age, I thought that your race was what you spoke at home. You couldn't run away from race. It was just how it was in Malaysia. It's very race-based politics. And it actually started with the British when they were still in Malaysia. They had this policy called divide and conquer. And what they did was they had the Malays in the villages, planting rice, and they had the Indians in the rubber estates and the Chinese in commerce and in mining. And that was how they separated everyone. And even after independence, that stayed on. And even when I say I'm Chindian, people tend to ask, oh, so is your dad Chinese or Indian, And then when you say Chinese, and then they say, oh, so you're Chinese then? No, I'm Chindian. I can't not acknowledge the other half of what I am.
I'll start from the beginning as to how my mom and dad married. So they met, they fell in love, and they got married. But her father never accepted the fact that she was marrying an Indian. She being the eldest, a lot of responsibility were given to her. But when grandfather found out she was marrying an Indian, everything was taken off her. And he didn't speak to her for a few years actually. And coming from a Chinese, very communist approach, she left that sort of environment to go to an Indian environment, Just go back again. When they got married, it was a very simple one. Sign on the dotted line, coffee shop, and off they went. So we got married in a temple. We had a Chinese dinner celebration at only her family, and we had an Indian dinner just for our relatives. Having lived in Australia for a really long time, how on earth was I able to meet a girl who came from a small town called Tanjung Rambutan? Because small village as to where my father and his family was. It's as big as 2 streets, and that's it. And what's the connection there? So that really amazes me until today.